Okay, so welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
This time, we're going to take a look at Myanmar's financial system.
Uh-huh.
We got a bunch of reports here from the Financial Action Task Force.
Right?
We're going to call it FATF from now on because it's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is.
And, these reports are pretty dense, but don't worry. We're going to break it all down.
Exactly.
We're going to make it make sense.
We are.
So what is the FATF exactly?
Well, you can kind of think of it like the UN for finance.
Okay.
So they're this intergovernmental organization
Right.
that sets these global standards for how to combat money laundering
Uh-huh.
and terrorist financing.
Right, so this is a big deal.
Huge deal.
They're the ones who decide, like, what's okay and what's not okay
Pretty much.
in the world of moving money around.
Yeah, you got it.
So the FATF, they put Myanmar on this list. They call it the call to action list,
Right.
which doesn't sound super great.
No, not really.
I mean, what does that even mean for a country to be on this list?
Well, essentially, it's like being put on financial probation,
Oh, okay.
like a warning to the rest of the world
Okay.
that, hey, Myanmar's got some serious issues with their financial system that they need to fix.
So like a red flag
Big red flag.
for banks and stuff.
Absolutely. Banks worldwide are going to be like,
Uh-oh.
we're a little hesitant to do business with Myanmar right now.
Right, because who wants to get caught up in something shady?
Exactly. It's a huge risk.
Yeah, so let's dive into the specifics here.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of these issues that the FATF is raising about Myanmar?
Well, they lay out 8 key areas in the reports where they say Myanmar's falling short.
8? That's a lot.
It is, and some of them are pretty complex, but I think the one that really jumps out is this whole Hundi system.
Hundi system. What's that?
So Hundi is this informal network of money brokers.
Like underground banks?
Yeah, basically they operate outside of any official regulations.
Oh, so that sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It can be because it's incredibly difficult to track where the money's going.
Right, so the FATF is probably freaking out about that.
They're really concerned that this Hundi system could be a major avenue for money laundering.
Okay, so that's one big issue. What else is on the FATF's radar?
Well, another big one is the gem trade.
Gems, like rubies and sapphires.
Exactly. Myanmar is one of the world's biggest suppliers of gemstones,
Like,
but the industry has this long history of being used to move dirty money around.
like using gems to hide illegal cash.
Exactly. The FATF wants to see that Myanmar is actually making an effort to monitor and regulate this trade.
Right, because, I mean, if you're moving millions of dollars worth of gems around, it's easy to slip some shady stuff in there.
It is, and that's what the FATF is worried about.
So what happens if Myanmar just ignores the FATF?
Well, the FATF could impose what they call countermeasures.
Countermeasures sounds ominous.
These are basically sanctions that can restrict Myanmar's access to global financial systems.
So like cutting them off from the rest of the world?
In a way, yeah, it would make it incredibly difficult for businesses in Myanmar to operate internationally.
Like trying to do business with one hand tied behind your back.
It would be incredibly challenging and could really stifle their economic growth.
So it's not just about following the rules, it's also about protecting their own economy.
Absolutely.
But, it's not all about cracking down on illicit finance, right?
Right.
The FATF also mentions protecting legitimate financial flows like humanitarian aid and remittances.
Yeah, they specifically highlighted that.
Why is that important?
Well, because you don't want to accidentally harm innocent people.
Okay.
If you make it too hard to send money to Myanmar, you could be cutting off vital lifelines for families that rely on remittances from abroad.
Right, like people sending money back home to support their families.
Exactly. Or think about aid organizations trying to get funds to people in need after a natural disaster.
Yeah, that would be a huge problem.
So the FATF is saying, you got to crack down on the bad stuff. But you also got to make sure you're not blocking the good stuff.
So it's a balancing act.
Very much so.
So to sum it all up, Myanmar's got some work to do.
They do.
They're under a lot of pressure to clean up their financial act.
Absolutely.
And the clock is ticking.
The FATF has given them until October 2024 to make significant progress.
Otherwise,
they could face those countermeasures we talked about.
right, and that would have a ripple effect on the entire global fight against financial crime.
Exactly what happens in Myanmar doesn't stay in Myanmar.
That's a good point. It's all interconnected.
Very much so.
Well, this has been a fascinating look at a very complex issue.
It has.
And, I think it raises a lot of questions about the future of Myanmar's economy.
Definitely.
And its place in the global financial system.
A lot to think about for sure.
So for everyone listening, we'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this.
Yeah, jump into the comments section.
Let us know what stood out to you,
And what questions you still have.
because this is an ongoing story, and we'll definitely be revisiting it in future deep dives.
Absolutely.
Until then, keep exploring, keep learning.
And stay curious.
We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.